Any of you ever, as kids, you ever hold your breath in tunnels? Like, and wish for something? I used to do that all the time, but it was never anything normal, like, oh, I hope I find, like, $50. It was always, it's like, oh, I hope Katie Morawski fucking sits on my face. It was like, I was holding my breath for like a minute, just hoping that. I'd go and see her the next day. I'm like, not today. It's not going to happen again, but I'll hold my breath every single time. So as you can probably tell, I'm single. And I watch a handsome amount of porn, which, like, I don't get crazy with it. I watch, like, I watch porn, I get on my day. I don't go crazy. I just, I'm like, here we go. Watch it, go on. That was really loud for that, just for porn. That's good. Well, I'm good for you. Anyways, recently though, like, I'll watch it, and sometimes they'll have like the porno star like labeled at the bottom. If they don't, I'm like, what's her name? I'll go look for it. And if I don't see her, I'll be like, oh, life goes on. But I've been finding out that one of my favorite things now, I get excited when I go to watch porn now. I find out that like I'll be more interested in the comments than I am the actual porno. Because I'll go and like, oh, what's her name? I don't see it. There's like 20 guys like me, like, what's her name? But I won't actually make a profile and ask her name. I'm just like, oh well. But I always see, what's her name? Someone will label it. But then there's always these other, like, these maybe fake profiles. There's always someone like portraying a girl. She's like, I wish somebody would fuck me that way. And there's always like 10 guys like, oh, fuck you that way. I'll fuck you harder that way. I'm like, I'm just watching this like, Jesus Christ. No, you won't. You're like in different states. You're not going to do that. But then I read through and like 20 comments later, there's always some guy with a great sense of humor. And he'll post something like, does anybody know a good recipe for chicken parmesan? And then everyone's like mocking that guy, like, get out of here, asshole. You're such a bitch. And then 4 comments later, someone will like, yeah, you take 2 chicken breasts, whole chicken breasts, 3 cups of Parmesan cheese, some butter, some garlic, and they'll give you the exact recipe of how to make chicken Parmesan. And it is the best chicken Parmesan I've ever had in my entire life. It is so good. So if you're ever curious into like making something like beef Wellington or something that's like complicated, I recommend going to a porn site and making a profile and typing it into the comment section, and somebody will answer that within a day with the best recipe ever. I was taking a shower the other day, and I saw a spider, and I was like, ugh. So I sprayed it. I was like, God damn, gross. And I watched it go down the drain, and I was like, ugh, what a terrible way to die. Drown in semen. I was like, ugh, gross. I've got 2 bad habits: licking my lips when I get nervous, and getting nervous around children. So walking my niece to school has always been a fucking nightmare. I'm like, I get halfway, I'm like, there you go, Ashley, I can't go any further. There they are. There's all the kids. Goddamn. But that's not good. It's not good either. Let's see here. I've got a coworker, an old coworker, and I overheard a story of him telling another person about how he and his boyfriend were having butt sex, and then the girl was like upset but kind of confused at the same time. She was like, oh, wouldn't that hurt? And he's like, sweetheart, you don't have a prostate. And she was like, oh. And I was overhearing this. I was ear hustling. And I'm like, oh. And so later that day, I was taking a shower, and I have one of those sweet handles that's like, I don't know, that long, and you have to really grab it and turn it. And so I was sitting there, and I was like, and it's up because it was hot. I wanted hot water. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, he said, don't knock it till you try it. And I've heard that before. And I was looking at it, I'm like, stupid. That's dumb. What are you doing? No, I'm not going to do that. Like a cat trying to take a shit, just like, all right, All right, this is stupid. Not for me, not for me. It's not. I tried it and I am knocking it. It's not for everybody. It is not a good way to go. My mother is a very sweet lady, but she's not the smartest. She finished high school when I was like 4th grade. She like went to those adult classes, and I remember her like trying to read to me when I was younger. And she's like, as I got older, she's like, I learned to read when I was reading to you, and it clicked because I remember her like trying to like read one of those like historical books. She's like, and President Lincoln created the Emancipation Proclamation. And then he went on to do great things for the nation. I'm like, what's that last word you were trying to finish? But she would watch Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and then Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And both of those shows, I remember her like yelling out the answer, and it was like, wrong, it's C. She's like, A. She's like, it's C or B. I'm like, God, Mom, God damn it. And I'm trying to do my homework. And I remember one day, she was watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and it was, she stopped me. She's like, Nicholas, did you know that whales aren't animals? They're mammals. And I'm like, God damn it, Mother. I'm like, well, they're both, but nice try. And then I was just like, and she actually was talking about trying that show on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And I'm like, please don't do that. You won't win any of the money. But I was watching that show with her one time, and I remember like one of the people on that show, some lady, and she ended up failing somehow. Somehow she failed, and I think that you're contractually obligated to, when you lose, she's like, Sarah Kennedy, do you have something to say? And the lady was so disheartened. She's like, yeah, I'm not smarter than a fifth grader. She had to say her full name. I'm Sarah Kennedy, and I'm not smarter than a fifth grader. And then everyone starts clapping, and she like walks off the stage. I'm like, what a goddamn nightmare. I'd be like, fuck you, Jeff Foxworthy. Like, let's ask that kid some physics questions or some fucking anthropology questions or some math questions that are above fifth grade. I'll fucking nail him or her. Well, not. I'll be better at answering those questions than that kid in particular, maybe. Let's see here. What's one more? So I've got a deaf niece, and I learned sign language to communicate with her. And the first time I met her was she was 7. I met her over in Germany, so I went back to America. And I'm like, I'm gonna learn some sign language so I can like communicate with her. So I learned some sign language, and then I met her again when I was a senior in high school. I was like 18, and she, not really math here, she was probably about 12, something, maybe 11. And I asked my brother, I knew about 5 words in sign language. I learned stop, don't, no, the compound sentence, I'm gonna tell your father, and I also learned elephant. For some reason, I knew that one. And I was like, hey, can I take her on a picnic? So I take her on a picnic. He's like, yeah, you can take it there. So I take her on a picnic. I set up everything, the blanket and all the food. And then I set up everything. And then she proceeds to take off all of her clothes and run around. She was 10 at the time. That's right. So she's a 10-year-old girl, takes off all of her clothes and runs away from me naked. A deaf girl in a park runs away from me. And I decided to go chase after her, and I grabbed the blanket to grab her. So I'm chasing a naked 10-year-old deaf girl with a blanket, and I grab her, I get her, and I throw her over my shoulder, and I run back to the car. And as I'm running back to the car, I'm thinking about how ridiculous this situation seems. So I start laughing, like, this is stupid. And then I get her, I put her in the car, I'm like, oh shit. What does that look like to everybody else? Like, you see a grown man with a naked girl wrapped up in a blanket, and you throw her in a car and you take off. That is kidnapping 101. And I'm like, oh no. And so I'm imagining like, okay, if I get pulled over, because everyone's got to be on their phone, like, yeah, I just saw a man wrap a girl in a blanket and get into his car and drive away. And then all the police officers would chase me, I'm sure. And then if I get pulled over, how am I going to explain a naked 10-year-old deaf girl wrapped in a blanket? You can't. And I'm like, no, officer, it's my niece. And there's no ID on her. And he's like, is this true, little girl? And she's just going to go, you know how they talk. when they, because I took a sign language class once, and I went and I made a joke. Well, it was an accident. I was trying to explain how I met my ex-girlfriend, and somehow had misinterpreted the sign, and it signed apparently how I molested my ex-girlfriend. Apparently the signs are different, and all the deaf people started laughing in the room. And I don't know if you've ever heard of several deaf people laughing, but it sounds like somebody left a bunch of ceiling fans on. They're like, but like times 10. And I was like, oh shit. I'll do one more, and this one's not, none of you are like this one, I'm doing this for my buddy. So as I said, I'm single, so I've been pretty desperate to meet a lady. So I've been carrying around about 85 cents in my pocket. It's already dead. This is great. So I've been targeting autistic women, kind of like Rain Man. I've been kind of like going to places where like math centers, and I just toss them out on the floor. I'm like, and I'm just waiting. How many cents is that? And then I wait for somebody to go 85 cents. I'm like, you're my lady. Only one. I knew it was gonna happen. I didn't want to do that, but I did it for him. All right, thank you, everyone.